Let's ride.
What was that?
What was what?
Uncertainty. I love you, Matt. Dave Toub loves Nikko Remigio as much as I love Matthew Lane. Plus,
That's cold open.
not sure Spags loves the cornerback room, and we get you ready for Chiefs Bears preseason week 3. Let's go.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
Welcome into a live edition, you know it's live, of the KC Laboratory, presented by Emprise Bank, member FDIC, our incredible partners in possible here at KC Sports Network. I'm here with my incredible partner, Matthew Lane. Hi, buddy.
Hi, Kit. How are you?
I'm doing tremendous. How are you?
Glad to hear it. I'm doing well. Normally I go into the whole spiel about, hey, college football's coming and the Chiefs play tomorrow and football's almost here, yada, yada, yada. It's all so fun. It is. That's all true. College football, Florida State. Not really a Florida State fan, but, cool shirt. They play on Saturday. And then we got some SMU playing. We maybe have Hawaii playing against Delaware State. It depends on if they can get their Greyhound bus figured out. But yeah, so we got football and then the Chiefs play. And then we got one blank week after that of no NFL football. Then we're ready to roll. So it's a good time. I came in really excited to talk about all that. But now I'm kind of upset. I'm angry at you, Kent.
Why?
I'm a little annoyed. Last show, on Monday, you got all the people, including myself, excited that we were going to have a third person here with us. You threw it out there and for the world, and the universe took that lob and sent it right back in your face. Now you just teased everybody. You put everybody on edge. You teased them. You got everybody all riled up for no good reason, and now they're stuck with just us again.
Yeah, sorry about that. You can blame a different Matt, too, for that as well. No, just so you know,
Derek Carr for that, actually.
Yeah, blame Derek Carr for that, allegedly. Our buddy Matt Hamilton, you can find him doing tremendous work on Up and Adams with FanDuel. He is going to be joining us next Wednesday. He was planning on coming on this week, but scheduling changes, Derek Carr's fault, as everything is typically Derek Carr's fault. So, looking forward to having Matt Hamilton on with us next week. Going to be a lot of fun. So
fingers crossed now. I'm not believing you anymore.
Okay. Well, yeah. Sorry about that. I did tweet that out. So those that saw the Twitters, also you were notified of that as well. One quick thing off the top. We do still have some spots available for the KCSN Golf Tournament. We are a little over 2 weeks away, I believe, from the KCSN Golf Tournament, and it is going to be an incredible time. It is going to be a lot of fun. It's Mission Taco. It's Holiday Distillery. It's all of the tremendous tents that Holiday brings out as well at every 3 holes or something ridiculous like that. You get a bottle of KCSN's barrel pick. And so, yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a great time. Get your foursome together. We do still have some spots available. And all this money goes to the KCSN Foundation, which helps us fund a lot of initiatives that we do all year, like a book drive and a big, we go and get a bunch of stuff for kids for Operation Breakthrough, all kinds of great initiatives, feeding the homeless out in Kansas City. There's just a lot of initiatives that we participate in, and it means a lot to us to be able to do that. And the KCSN Golf Tournament is a significant factor in helping us do that. So please consider putting a team together for a good cause and for a lot of fun. I mean, it is an absolute blast. I can't wait. I believe I will be on one of the carts. Actually, I think me and Matt are going to be driving a cart around together. So that's going to be a good time.
I don't know if we'll survive that. We might have to be in dueling beer carts and have a friendly competition ourselves and see which cart can outperform the other.
See, I'm just going to be trying to see if anybody will let me tee off. I'm pretty sure I'm just going to bring my driver and just see if people will just let me So, and we've already learned that me and Tucker can't do it together.
It's confirmed.
learned
It
that.
is not. Yeah, no. And
Yeah.
especially Christian has asked us for roles already for the golf tournament. Pleased to report I have been placed on the on the beer cart again. So that is happening.
I can't wait. But anyways,
that's an update. There's two. That's just a quick update for those that go. There's 2 beer carts. I know that's not everybody got to see the cart as often as they wanted to in the past 2 years. So there's 2 carts this year, and we are bringing at least one professional along for the ride. And this guy right here has got you guys covered.
well, that makes one of us. Thanks everyone hanging out with us tonight, though. This is the night before the preseason is effectively over. Cut down day is, I believe, is it Monday? Is it coming up? Is it Monday now? I think it's Monday now. Yeah.
Tuesday, actually.
Tuesday?
It's the 27th. Yeah, it's at 4 p.m. Eastern time, Tuesday at August 27th.
Cool. So, no, it's not Monday. It's actually Tuesday. So, yeah, great. So, just nailing that like I am on the beer cart every time. But yeah, so look, this is the last preseason game. Tomorrow we'll talk a little bit about that. You're not going to get to see a ton of the Chiefs that are going to make the roster, but there's still some interesting things to watch and pay attention to, and players that we're looking forward to watching and all that stuff. So that should be we got plenty to talk about there. We have heard a little bit from some of the coaches over the last couple days here, getting some feedback, some insight from them, and there's little clues about where things sit with this roster currently. And I thought there was a couple that were pretty interesting off the top. First off, Dave Toub absolutely loves Nikko Remigio. And it kind of feels like, maybe he, it doesn't feel like the performance has been, jaw-dropping or awe-inspiring when it's come to in-game settings. But, he's drawn such rave reviews from multiple coaches, from the offensive coaches, now Dave Toub, who's now saying he is going to do everything in his power to keep Nikko Remigio on this roster. When you look at the return ability, he's got a lot going for him there. Sounds like it kind of feels like we're going to see Nikko Remigio making this roster.
Listen, the Remigio revolution was down. We were feeling close to out. It was almost over. We were writing letters. We were getting our documents in order. It was almost done. The revolution was about to be ended. We were about to start having to apply for other jobs, but no, it's not over. Uncle Dave strolls up in his short shorts and he throws us the biggest lifeline one can imagine for the Chiefs squad, the Toub lifeline. The return, the special teams lifeline comes out. The revolution is strong. We have been funded by the praise that Toub lays on Nikko Remigio, and it has breathed life back into the revolution. We are strong. We are here. We are standing up. We are proud to say we are part of the Remigio revolution. We are coming for that 6th or 7th wide receiver spot because we can return a football. And Uncle Dave absolutely loves Nikko Remigio.
That was a tremendous monologue there. Not only does it feel like Nikko Remigio is making the roster, but it kind of feels like Dave Toub really wants him to be his returner too. Like, I think it's not just, hey, returner depth. It kind of feels like he wants him to be involved in the return game, which would mean he's an active game day roster player. Is that the vibe you're getting right now? I'm in the same. That's kind of where I'm sitting right now with it.
Yeah, it's. The Nikko experience has gone kind of all over the place because it started coming in both like camps. He's been pretty good. And then it started off the preseason looking really well. And then last year there's the injury that kind of derails it. And this year there was some fumbles, but it wasn't that anything went inherently terribly for him. And the preseason, just other wide receivers started popping up. You didn't get to see Nikko playing with the first or second team offense very frequently. He wasn't the first return man out there that was getting the shots. And so it seemed like it really did slow down the hype train for him. And then I think you pointed it out, kind of like the broadcast said in the last game, that like, hey, Nikko in the second game there was Remigio's got to be better than this. This is not like you want to see from it. It was almost like from the broadcasting perspective, they weren't necessarily expecting Remigio to be making the squad. It was kind of like he was a guy that was, go ahead.
It was something to the effect of, well, this is just a really competitive race and it's a really tight, competition at the receiver spot. So, it was just kind of very clouded in the perception. And that's all. I mean, that stems from producers' meetings a lot of times. Like, even though it's a preseason game, there's still producers' meetings. You're going to get little insights here or there about the status of certain players and the tone in which they speak on these players does matter to a degree because there's little hints about what could be coming down the pike based on the perception of all these coaches. So I just wanted to add that note real quick. But
no, and it wasn't a guarantee that he wasn't making the roster, but like it just the vibe there took a little step back from what it had been. And then on top of the games and stuff, like it didn't seem like we were trending in the right direction for him to really have a spot. And then we see Sky Moore performing well and getting more and more run with the first team and getting these praise from Matt Nagy and everybody involved. So you kind of started struggling to find a spot for Nikko Remigio. And it really started to come down to him or McCole Hardman. And McCole Hardman is getting a few more return reps. McCole Hardman's been around. They let him walk last offseason, but then they bring him back middle of the year because they didn't like where their wide receiver room was. And it just kind of felt like Remigio was on the outside. But then now we've completed the full circle and it gets back to Dave Toub. And I think even Bobby Stroop was on a podcast, and I don't know which one it was, but he was on a podcast and asked about Nikko Remigio. And he said the same things that we've heard coming from the Chiefs is he's a really good kid. People like him. They like his work ethic. People like what he does. He's a very good teammate. Like you've heard Travis Kelce talk about him before. Jeff Allen, friend of KCSN, absolutely loves him. And like, I don't think they ever played with each other, but they probably met and stuff. Like he absolutely loves Nikko Remigio and what he brings. It's just, it seems like he's kind of got the vibe thing going for him. And then you add on the returnability and the fact that Uncle Dave, it's kind of his guy. He's been very vocal about his guy being Remigio right now. How often is Big Dave vocal about a guy he wants that he doesn't get? What Dave wants, Uncle Dave gets. That's where we're at right now. And if he wants Nikko Remigio, he's probably making it.
Well, and I don't think, and I think it's a great point that like the only fan of Nikko Remigio, it's not just Dave Toub. The coaching staff has raved reviews about him. Like there's a lot of belief in him too, right? And I'm gonna say it goes a long way. I mean, it goes plenty. Like you still got to put performance together. You still have to have the athletic ability. You still have to earn the trust and all that kind of stuff. But having people in your corner the way that it seems like Nikko Remigio does is positive for him. So, good on him. I wasn't getting warm fuzzies about, especially kind of just a lackluster performance. And, we'll see what kind of opportunity he gets in this game. Sometimes there's a mad dash at the front of these final games to help stack the, a competition, stack a room a little bit better, right? So you might see Nikko Remigio getting a lot of run in the return game early on. In fact, I would imagine whoever is seriously being considered in the return game is probably getting some run early in that preseason game tomorrow. So it's definitely something I'm paying attention to. We'll see how involved Nikko Remigio gets, and maybe if you see a couple targets his way early in the game too, doesn't hurt the case for Nikko Remigio either.
So where we stand right now, how confident are you that he makes this team?
I'm 50-50 still.
Okay.
I still think I'm 50-50. Hell, I maybe 60-40. I probably am more confident in making it because like we've kind of talked about like what does the return situation look like? And this is a guy that has multiple return team ability. And so like that's a factor in this. And like that's the piece of it that, if you're looking at how this thing shakes out, it's just like that is definitely a deciding factor for him. It's just how does the rest of that room stick?
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole point. Like, look at anybody that's returned punts in the preseason so far, but even like go into practice, like Xavier Worthy has taken punt returns, but he hasn't, I'm not saying he's not returning them in practice, but he hasn't returned one in the game. It doesn't seem like they really want to use him in that role. So you're looking at a punt returner for this team, and you're looking at guys that have made this roster, are going to be competing to make this roster. It's Nikko Remigio and it's McCole Hardman. And Montreal Washington's, I guess, also there, but it doesn't seem like he's at the same level of competition as those two guys. And then you start looking, okay, well, if there's a crossover role, Nikko and McCole have both done kick returns. Like that gives them this extra thing they can do on the team. And maybe it comes down to the two of them. And listen, I'm not saying McCole Hardman's a bad returner, and I'm not saying that Dave Toub likes one guy more than the other. I will say that McCole Hardman, while sure-handed as a punt returner, he's made a lot of iffy decisions on which punts to field and which punts not to field. And that is something that I bet would drive Dave Toub absolutely bonkers because he is a guy that does want you to be aggressive. If there's space, he wants you to pick up the ball at the 7-yard line and try to return it and not let it bounce in for the end zone. And just so I could see a path. Sorry, I got something in my eye here. I could see a path in which Nikko is the favorite for Toub over McCole Hardman. So yeah, I feel pretty confident that he makes it. Last question on this then. How much do you expect him to play in this final preseason game tomorrow, given that we think that they're leaning towards him making the team?
Oh, I think this is like let's just confirm with our eyes and get some opportunities and see you in a more profile position. Like I think he's one of those last few roster spots that has to get settled here, and they're gonna make him play and make him earn it. I think. So I do think it will just be, I think McCole and Nikko are making it. If it's like, I think it's 60% Nikko, 40% Justin Ross right now. So I'm not.
Okay, so
you're
pretty lot. You're feeling 7.
I think it's 7. I think McCole Hardman got on the podium this week, so he got some podium
after being
time.
left off the team's depth chart by accident.
Yeah, I feels like McCole's making it too. So like I think it goes down between Nikko and then Justin Ross, who provides more special teams value. It's Nikko Remigio. Kadarius Toney gone.
Yeah, that's it. Listen, hey, if we get there, we can keep whatever wide receivers we need to.
Yep, UFL star Kadarius Toney. We got to hear from Steve Spagnuolo a little bit this week as well. Still some uncertainty around the cornerback position. There's been a lot of guys in and out. Like it's been tough to see, different players even like in a rotation in some kind of, normal setting because they've had various injuries up and down the cornerback room. There's definitely 3 players from the 2022 draft that continue to stand out. Jalen Watson, Joshua Williams, and Najee Johnson all continue to be players that seem to be leading the pack when it comes to consideration for the cornerback spot. But heard Steve Spagnuolo even say, this is from Joshua Briscoe on SI, quoting Steve Spagnuolo, it's making it really difficult to decide which way to go. We've got one more game. Some of the guys will play and are still fighting for jobs, but we can't say that there's a starting other corner right now, in all honesty. Not warm fuzzies, not what you want to be hearing right now about the cornerback position outside of Trent McDuffie, Matthew.
Yeah, and with Spag's comments, we got some stuff about they haven't got to play all 11 starters together yet, even in a practice or anything, because they haven't had everybody and they've been so injured. And when even pressed about a potential veteran free agent ad, there was definitely never a no or we're set. It's, we got to get everything sorted out. And I'm sure Brett and Andy will be looking at guys, and then they'll ask me to watch somebody if they find. So it seemed very non-committal to anything from Spags, but I also think that's where his head's at right now. This team nobody, as we've talked about all along, nobody has come up and really taken this cornerback spot. And while I don't think they love it, I do believe this defensive coaching staff knows that Jalen Watson is a stable piece. He is somebody that they can put in there when he is healthy, and he is going to provide them with a certain level of play that they can win with, that they can get by with. Now, will that maybe take a half step back, not playing with L'Jarius Sneed and Trent McDuffie and just one of them? Sure. It's possible that he'll be left on an island more and there will be a small step back, but I think they at least feel okay about the stability that he brings. Now, do they want to improve on him? It sounds like it, or they want him to take another step. And that's why Najee Johnson, that's why Joshua Williams, Kelvin Joseph, Keith Taylor, that's why all these guys are getting shots, because they would like to do better than what they've gotten out of the consistency of Watson. I just don't think anyone's done that. Nobody's gotten to that baseline level of Watson yet. And I think that has been a little frustrating for them. And then beyond that, you got to have another corner now that sees the field all the time. And that has been in the past, it's been Joshua Williams rotating with Jalen Watson, but he's been a lot higher highs, but the inconsistency is all over the place. And now it just seems like while even being healthy, although he's now fighting a hamstring injury, he's been healthy and been unable to completely take that cornerback 2 spot despite being the only guy out there, which can't be good news. I don't know. It seems like they are a little uncertain about what this position is going to be right now, as well as much as fans are.
It's not a great place to be 2 weeks away from the season starting. And that's the concern, right? Is do they have things, in a play? I mean, are they going to be satisfied with what they have? And we'll talk a little about some cut trade candidates here in a little bit, but I think it's a weird spot to be in, because if you're going to add somebody to the room, it needs to be someone that can provide consistency, that could potentially beat out your third corner, your fourth corner, And so I know that they have a lot of, I don't want to call them lottery tickets, but players that they like, but want to see more out of, that they think can be good, but maybe need them to be better now than they hope they can develop into. Right. So it's it's a balancing act with a lot of different players. They've given themselves good swings at the cornerback position, but there's just so much uncertainty, and there's reasons to knock all of them. I think we talked about liking. I'm not going to compare it to the receiver class last year, but the receiver group last year is we liked some of the swings that they had in the receiver room, and we're just waiting for one or two to step up, and really only one stepped up. Well, I mean, there's a more proven track record for this receiver group or this cornerback group than that receiver group, but we also kind of have a little bit more information about what at least the top quote unquote 3 guys are in the cornerback room. And 2 of them have kind of played in a limited role to this point. So I don't know, if you're going to add somebody, it's got to be someone that's going to elevate the floor of that group, I think, a little bit.
Yeah. And I guess you would hope that they would have gotten on top. If it's going to be a guy that's already a free agent, maybe you would have already made that move. But I also understand the idea of trying to let these young guys, I think they do like the depth, the talent pool that they have available. It just seems like guys are, I don't want to say developing, but guys just aren't performing and producing it the way that they want them to. So I understand the process of going into camp and the preseason, seeing if any of these guys that you really like really start to jump out. And I just don't think we've gotten to the point where anyone has. And granted, a lot of the guys have been injured. Najee Johnson, Jalen Watson, Kelvin Joseph, and now Joshua Williams. All these guys have missed time for various reasons. So there's a reason to be optimistic and say, well, they just didn't stand out because they didn't get to be in the right routine. They were, injured off and on. They weren't always playing with other starters. So I understand the angle, but just kind of listening to Spags, hearing him reading, trying to read the tea leaves, it sounds like he would really like them to maybe be considering a free agent veteran cornerback if one comes, happens to be available that Brett Veach and Andy Reid like. That was the vibe I got, was he definitely would not be upset if they brought in a veteran cornerback to add to this group.
He said something to the effect of, Brett and Andy are always looking at guys. They're always, keeping, getting an eye out to try to make this team better. And I'm sure I'll get a few of those in the next few days. Which, I mean, that's just the time. And this, okay, so yes, that is intimating that they could be actively looking to try to find a cornerback to make them better. But this is also a mad dash time of the year. After this game, a lot of the tape's out on this, this class of players. I mean, half the league, about half, 40% of the league's about to get cut. And so it's an opportunity to go look and try to see if there are people, players that can make this team better, guys that wind up on the trade market, so it is definitely worth paying attention to that he made the comment, but it also is pretty common practice at this time of year, regardless. I know fans get really excited about all these players on the Chiefs team, but some of these bottom of the roster players, the Chiefs are constantly looking to find players better for the bottom of their roster than what they have now, even on the players you like. And it's not a knock on those players. It's just, that's the nature of the NFL. And they are always trying to replace your favorite player at the bottom of the roster. That's just the reality of it. They're always looking for ways to try to make this team better. And that's what I'd like. It's colder than what you see, I think, out there. So your favorite, some of your favorite bottom of the roster players, the Chiefs are actively trying to find someone better, and they should continue to always make this roster better.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the right way to go about it. And I think they did that. And Spags didn't put any pressure on anybody, on the team or whatever, to say, no, we need somebody. He just said, this is what they always do, and we'll figure it out from there. I'm pulling together quotes from Dave Barrett and Steve Spagnuolo from last offseason going into camp, and then what they said going into this camp, and then what they're saying now. I'm just kind of putting the whole picture together, and I just don't think that they've got anybody to get quite to the point that they wanted to. So sure. I do think that if he had his way, there's a veteran corner coming to help, even if it's not somebody that we on the outside are going to look at immediately and be like, that guy's definitely better than what we have. That guy is definitely going to start. In his mind, I think just having a veteran guy that he can maybe believe in a little bit more, that fits what he thinks the scheme's going to be. I really think if he has his way, that's what's going to happen.
I agree. I think they'll be trying, and they've got some cap space. They got some flexibility to be able to do something like that if they want. We're going to take a break. We'll be back right after this.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network. Entertain, educate, inform. KC Sports Network.
Just so you know, if you want to text Tucker D. Franklin on the Mint Mobile text line, it's 913-407-6524. Tucker, what questions would you like to be answering tonight? Do you have anything specifically? Are you going to give them college football teams? What are you going to do?
I don't know. Whatever you tell me to do. I haven't really thought about anything, truthfully.
Ooh, you guys should ask Tucker what you should have for a midnight snack.
Ooh, or breakfast tomorrow. In case
Joke's
you're
on you,
listening to the
same
show in the morning. Can we just say next meal and or snack?
Yeah, next meal's fine.
I like it. What do you give me my next meal? What's my next meal, Tucker?
Popcorn.
Let's go. Let's go. What kind of popcorn?
Popcorn, huh?
The microwave kind, not the one you get in the bag, not the already popped stuff. You got to pop it in the microwave yourself. Act 2. Is that what it's called? Act 2? Is that the brand?
There is a brand called Act 2.
Okay.
There's Orville Redenbach. I like a good Act 2.
I went to Costco last night for dinner. Not a big deal, but they had a 44 pack of popcorn, microwave popcorn there, and I said that is awesome.
Oh my god!
I think the branding hasn't changed on that ever either. It's like is it still the movie, like the movie bucket?
Yep.
Movie theater bucket.
15 years since I've had a bag of microwave popcorn.
Really?
Minimum. Yeah. So Rachel, my wife, makes popcorn, but she like has the actual kernels and she like pops it on the stove.
That's right,
Now, I don't particularly care for popcorn, so like I don't even eat that very often. But every now and then I'll grab like a couple pieces, throw it down. But like actual like I don't think my kids have ever had microwave popcorn. And then like I don't eat it much, so we definitely don't go the microwave route.
Oh.
I don't know, and I've just had a bag of microwave.
I got a fun
popcorn.
story.
Oh no.
The first time I tried to cook something by myself as even younger than I am now, Tyke, I tried to make popcorn as a child. Like, I don't know how old I was, for like 7, 8 years old. I grabbed that bad boy out. I chucked it in the microwave. I blasted that bad boy for about 5 minutes probably at the time. Didn't take the plastic wrapper off whatsoever. Melted that bad boy, fried the microwave. The whole house was a smoking.
I think what's funny is if you had taken the plastic off and just turned it on for 5 minutes, you still would have set the microwave on fire.
I mean, I don't know how long I did it. I don't remember how long I did it. It was just the fact that there was definitely still plastic on there that melted, and it was an issue.
I think 5 minutes. I think 5 minutes of popcorn in a bag, even with the plastic off, might have set that bad boy off. Still, is all. I'm just saying.
Maybe.
Yeah. We should probably.
It's a great end point right there. It's just Maddie saying maybe. Maybe.
You don't know. Go try it.
Oh, I didn't mean to put that up there, but yeah, sign up for the golf tournament. I accidentally put that up there, but sign up for the golf tournament.
You should have said the next meal should be Mission Taco. Your meal on Saturday, September 7th could be Mission Taco, as well as I think some brisket and some delicious meats. If you go to the KCSN Golf Tournament. So quick reminder.
GiveButter.com.
GiveButter.com. Yep.
KCSN Golf.
Is there a link in the description of the show?
I put it in the chat. Let me see. I'll double check. If it's not, I'll put it in there right now.
So you can access that, and you can also use the KC Sports Network Venmo to sign a team up as well. So and reach out to any of us, specifically Matthew, if you have any other further questions about the KCSN Golf Tournament.
That's definitely what everybody should do.
Text the Mint Mobile text line about the KCSN Golf Tournament. That's 913-407-6524. So come hang out with us. It's gonna be a good time. We're looking forward to it. Get a team together. You guys are going to have a tremendous time. You're going to walk away with delicious food, delicious bourbon, and fun games. So, yeah. Okay. So we know we're probably not going to see the starters for the Chiefs offense, but that doesn't mean there's not some players that are worth watching a little bit here on that side of the ball, kind of getting a better glimpse of them. I'll start with my guy, Ethan Driscoll, on the offensive side of the ball. He's a player to watch for me. I am still fascinated by him. I mean, this is an undrafted free agent. I think he's gotten better every time I've seen him. I think he got better this week with a higher sample size. I know some people profiled the movement skills of him out against the run, but I actually thought he did okay and held up okay in pass protection. I don't think he's necessarily like an elite athlete, but I think he kept really good body positioning and pretty good balance for the majority of the game. And this is a kid I want to see them continue to develop. I don't think they're going to get a chance to develop him if they let him walk. And so a guy with positional versatility, plays left side, plays right side. I want to just see how they use him. If he plays both sides, that's something of interest to me too. It's just like they're trying to prove that he can play as a swing tackle. They want to make sure and feel confident about that and that positional flex. And if it's valuable enough for them to do it, I mean, I don't know if it's him versus Lucas Niang, but like I think I said on the show earlier, I like him a little bit more than I like Ethan Driscoll more than I like Lucas Niang right now. And I think there's a couple of reasons going for him. So Ethan Driscoll is one of the guys I'm paying the most attention to in this game.
Yeah, I think another strong performance from him could go a long way. And if it's not a competition between him and Lucas Niang of getting him into that conversation, especially if Wanya Morris continues to not be available for play with his injury. Like if he is not available, they can't really roll into the year with just, I mean, you can't go into the year with just Lucas Niang as your only available backup offensive tackle if Ethan Driscoll's outperforming him by your own metric. So like, it's just, there is a chance. There's an opportunity here for Driscoll to make a strong push for the team, especially because he can play right and left side. Long term, he probably has a better long-term future. Even like just saying, I feel pretty strongly saying right now, his long-term future is probably a little better with the Chiefs than what Lucas Niang's is looking at, just because like it just doesn't seem like they've caught that traction there. So yeah, I think that's a pretty good one to keep an eye on. Especially you would like to continue to see him for a big guy looking kind of physically dominant versus what's going to be backups and other guys fighting for a roster spot. So like, just continue to show off the size, the technique stuff, always everything looking pretty doesn't matter. Just look physically better than the other guys you're going against that probably aren't making teams as well. That's a big step for him.
Agreed. Lucas Niang, I think he's got to prove himself even in this game too. So like, that's definitely a player I'm keeping an eye on as well. Give me one that you're looking at, Maddie.
Yeah, one guy, one singular player. I'm gonna go with the running back room. I'm interested.
One player. I'm gonna go with the running back room.
Steele is gonna play at all, and if he does, how much? But I'm always excited to watch him. I think he is like talking about a guy that I think will look physically better than other players on the field. If he's going up against backups or third stringers and fourth stringers, Carson Steele could have some fun highlights like he did in that first preseason game. In this one, if he does play much, if at all. But if not, Deneric Prince. I need Deneric Prince to show something in a preseason game. I need him to translate what has been a good back-to-back good training camps to the football field in a game against an opponent and not his own team, if we are going to try to really make a push to keep him on this roster. And like, I don't know if that's where we're at. There seems to be a lot of uncertainty about what's going on, not what's going on, but like where Clyde Edwards-Helaire is and when he will be ready and what his availability will look like. So there might be a need for this team to need that fourth running back or to need a Deneric Prince to step up and be part of this. And just, I don't think so far we have seen him really stand out. He hasn't been bad. He's definitely been better than last year. The game doesn't look too fast for him. He seems like he's generally understanding what's happening. And I think you had some questions about that last year, but he just hasn't stood out yet. And I think this would be a good time for him to be like, I'm not just a jag in terms of my physical profile versus these other guys. We've seen the speed, but it doesn't always pop up when you need it to. He needs to showcase that he's not just another random running back that you're going to be able to pick up in week 8 if he wants to make this roster.
Yeah, I don't think, I know he had a nice little run in that one play that we were just talking about with Ethan Driscoll out on, the little draw play.
Yeah.
It's a draw. But I would say, I think when we talked about, Brett Veach and Andy Reid constantly trying to find ways to make their roster better at all times, right? I think running back's a place they could be looking pretty hard at. If depending on the status of Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I don't think just handing a job to Deneric Prince makes a ton of sense either. Like that's a place you could try to make this room a little bit better, I think. And so, I don't even know if I'm like with some of these positions. I'm not sure I'm excited to just give a position a spot away. Like I don't really feel excited to give a spot away to anybody right now. Just to give it away because they're sitting there, and that kind of feels like there's some defaulting happening right now, like a couple positions, running back being one of them. So yeah, I mean, I think he has to put a good performance together for them to. I mean, they've used 3 running backs plenty in games, in the Patrick Mahomes era. So like they will use.
What 3. So are you feeling? And you're not in the building. You don't get the conversations with this, so you don't know. But like, what's your confidence level going into the week 1 game with your running back room, just consisting of Pacheco, Carson Steele, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
If it's just those 3 and they clear Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Clyde Edwards-Helaire feels good.
Cleared. That's what I mean. Like, you're not in there, but like I'm just saying, like there's a complete unknown to what his availability is going to be. Like even for them, I don't think it's known.
If the Chiefs feel comfortable putting him on the 53-man roster and only having 3 running backs and one of those being an undrafted rookie free agent, I feel okay about it. I think we know what Clyde Edwards-Helaire is on the field, and if they feel good that Clyde Edwards-Helaire is in a good place to play, and he should be on the 53-man roster. I just don't think that they're going to roll into a season with just Carson Steele and Isaiah Pacheco.
Yeah.
So like if Clyde Edwards-Helaire is on the
squad elevation too, so
but even like I don't know how comfortable they feel with Carson Steele and Pacheco and Deneric Prince is all I'm saying. So like if it's just those 3, I think they're trying to find a way to make that room better is all. So any other offensive players for you?
I mean, like we've talked to, okay, Justin Ross. Show me something. He has looked better than some other guys, but his better kind of comes and goes. His better always comes in the exact same way. It's a jump ball to him where he makes an excellent catch on which we know he can do that. What else can you do for me? And part of that is for offense, not always putting him in position to showcase more, but what else can you do for me? Let me see you do something else. It's the 3rd preseason game, and this goes to the coaching staff too. Have him run some other stuff. Let's get him away from just doing sideline fades for a little bit and see if we can hit him on a dig route, on a deep comeback, like a slant. Let's just see what it looks like, right? Let's try to get him activated that way to know if there really is something that we got to keep. And for the love of goodness, block. You are a much bigger wide receiver than anybody else on this team. Block somebody when they ask you to block somebody. When you are the point man for a wide receiver screen, or you are working down the box to go dig out a safety, do it. That is your path to making this team, is to actually block somebody. And that has not gone well for him at all this preseason or last year. So like he definitely has some things I think he could do in this game that would really impress. And then going to your point to open up the show, it would make it kind of hard to not keep 7 wide receivers if he can do that.
I just don't, and like you talk about blocking, like the special teams makeup of him, like that's what's tricky. It's like, does he have the building blocks to be a quality special teamer? Blocking's a big trait. Tackling's a big trait. Like
they play him there though. Like they play him on special teams. They did last year. So like,
I get it, but I don't know. I don't know if I feel great about it. That's kind of where like receiver prowess. I think Justin Ross has been a little bit better than Nikko Remigio to this point. Special teams value, I get it. And upside, it's Ross. Like upside, it's Ross. So like Justin Ross still has ceiling. He's still a young player. He's still done some impressive things outside of the games. So we'll see what they come up with. Defensive players to watch. Matthew, any big defensive players that you want to watch? I know there's probably a couple.
I would like to see Jaden Hicks get more opportunities to play in the slot and man coverage again. I think this is the right game to, like, the results weren't great, although you did see he's got a little handsy, but you saw a nice comeback rep in the red zone from him after kind of getting picked on up and down the field before, was it halftime of the last game? So yeah, I just put these guys that are going to make your team and are going to have a role, or that what they do well and they need to do more to have roles. Like that was the Justin Ross point for Jaden Hicks. He's making the team. He's going to have a role. This is the game to go put him out there in situations that you haven't repped as much, that we haven't seen as much, that he might not even do in the regular season, but just to see if he can. Go put him in the slot a couple times. Go have him man up on a tight end from time to time and just see what that looks like. So like, I want the coaching staff to kind of challenge some of the norms on how we've seen these guys used, and see if like some of these dudes that we know are making the roster, like Hicks, maybe if it's just a drive or two to start the game, can go out there and just get a few man coverage reps and see what he can do there.
I'm curious how much he actually does get to play, because like I do get that you want to see him, and I agree, like it's a good chance for him to develop there, but also there's a chance that he's playing a decent amount of football here in a couple of weeks, depending on what happens with the Justin Reed situation. So, I mean, that's just something.
It might just be a series.
Yep. Yeah, and hopefully you get some looks there if he's getting a series, but like, that's one of those fringe players where it's like, that's a thin spot that they might want to just try to keep some of their guys back just in case, just because of That's what I'm a little bit worried about. But yeah, hopefully we do get to see him in some capacity, get to play a little coverage, because I do think it'd be good for his development just to get some opportunities out there. Felix, Truman Jones. I think Felix and Truman Jones are probably going to get a lot of run. And for Felix, it's just like, let's see some flashes. Like I think you said it on Monday. Let's just see some flashes. Let's see some reasons to get excited. Let's just get a little bit more hope there, right? Just, I think last week was not great, honestly. I think it was worse than the week prior. And I know he had to play a lot of snaps, but he really wasn't making any impactful rushes whatsoever. And that was discouraging, to say the least. And, this team right now, they don't have any pass rush juice at the edge position beyond George Karlaftis and Mike Dana, who aren't elite pass rushers in their own names. So you've got rotational Malik Herring right now, who I really like. He's like I think he's a good defensive end 5, but he's probably going to outsnap Felix Anudike-Uzomah. If in week 1 right now, if the defensive end room changed, does Malik Herring outsnap Felix Anudike-Uzomah, Matthew? What do you think?
In this game? No,
in week 1. I think so.
Yes. Especially given the opponent. I think that's going to be a big part of it. Like, I guess there's a chance the Chiefs jump out to an early lead and it's a lot of pass rush downs, and that's where you would presumably get a lot more Felix, right? But I think just against the Ravens, you're going to use Malik Herring for a lot more of your entire drives off for a Karlaftis or a Dana. You probably want to trot out the defensive end that can go out there and defend the run a little bit better, not be overly worried about a pass rush. And especially what we have seen about Felix, what he does the few times he has lately been flashing the explosion, the ability to get off the ball and get upfield, he's getting really deep up the pocket. And you can't do that versus Lamar Jackson. And you can't rely on your ability to spin back inside sometimes to catch him. Lamar Jackson's going to be gone when you do that, right? This isn't Nate Sudfeld or, whoever. Lamar Jackson, if you over pursue that pocket, he's getting out of dodge. And so, yeah, I do think Herring's probably better for that matchup in particular. And so, going to the other point, for Felix, this is a really tricky spot for him. It really is, because he does need a good performance, and he needs to showcase not only the high-end stuff, the high-end traits that we find appealing about him, the explosiveness, the ability to be a pass rusher, but he's also got to continue to play more violent, more physical, be better versus the run. Those two things, for someone who's struggling to do both those things, kind of go against each other. They butt heads. It's really hard. I'm going to be stout versus the run and be physical, but also try to focus on getting off the ball and getting around an offensive tackle to flash the pass rush juice that everybody's excited about. So and by the way, he's doing it against backups, third stringers, and fourth stringers right now. And when those things don't start to come together right away, when you can tell mentally you're not dominating the game, that probably weighs on him too. So he really needs a big performance in this game if he does play. I think to get some confidence going, and both for him and the team. I mean, the coaching staff, they need him to be a player until Charles Omenihu comes back. And right now, I don't know. They've had him play into the fourth quarter. I don't know if they see him as a player to go up against starters right now.
And I mean, for Truman Jones, I think it's give the Chiefs a reason to not go out and try to, find a way to improve the defensive end room. I think that's another guy is right now he's defensive end 5. And continuing the comment real quick, I think Malik Herring is defensive end 3 from a snap count perspective right now. Felix is 4th. That's my opinion on where week 1 snap counts change or go. Just because, this team actively tried to keep Malik around. Last year, I know the roster construction was a little bit different, but they played him and were making him active over Felix several times last year. They like him on early downs. So I think the early downs will go to Malik and some of the pass rush will go to Felix Anudike-Uzomah. So that's why I do think it'll probably wind up being more Malik than it will be Felix.
Yeah, no, I just want to say this, Seema says, FAU is a fourth quarter pass rusher. You put him in when guys are exhausted and just let him fly off the court. So yeah, I get the logic there. And that's probably closer to where he might be right now. I just think that we're not seeing the upside to even be excited about that, right? Not that he can't do it, not that it's not there, but it's in the preseason. We've seen him later in games go, and I know he's been tired, but he's been going up against third and fourth string offensive tackles and not making them really work, not threatening them a ton with his ability to, rush them off the edge when they are clearly dropping back too. So it's just, yes, I think that's where he is a very rotational or a very place specific edge rusher that's only coming in on passing downs. It's just, we got to see some more flashes before you even feel good about that. That's what he is, but it's out of necessity, not because he's so good at it right now. So yeah, let's see some progress in the pass rush plan. At this point, I'm okay giving one more year off of the run defense and being physical if you can get back to at least flashing a speed rush ability that we saw a little bit last year and the beginning of the season. You just go back to showing me that as, I think, a better version than what we've seen this year, where it seems like the emphasis is to be a better all-around player and it's just not fully clicking.
One of the reasons I was bringing up Truman Jones a second ago too is, looking at potential players that this team could try to add via cut down day, waiver claims, via, a trade, a player for player trade coming in here shortly, because this is the time of the year when you start seeing little minor moves made. Player for player trades are a little bit more common right now, where it's teams trading from their depths to try to help bolster different spots on their roster. So looking at, some potential trade candidates, looking at some potential ways to try to improve this roster. I wrote a little bit about that on the KCSN Substack this week, and there's a couple positions. I think defensive end and corner are two positions I'm paying attention to right now as places I think that the Chiefs could get a little bit creative trying to, improve the roster. How would you, because James Bradbury's not been good, the cornerback for the Philadelphia Eagles. His time in Philadelphia has not been great. He's been a little bit more expensive, but if he's a guy that's cut, when you're talking about adding a floor raiser, a veteran, an experienced player to this roster, how would you feel if the Chiefs signed James Bradbury after he's cut by the Philadelphia Eagles? How would you feel about that?
Fine with it. I'd probably rather just sign Xavier Howard right now than waiting for James Bradbury to be cut. But I wouldn't be upset if they signed James Bradbury. I don't think that he's best years are ahead of him at corner. I definitely think he is a few steps back from what he was 2-3 years ago. However, I think in Steve Spagnuolo's scheme, where you were allowed to sit at the line of scrimmage, beat somebody up with your hands, and he'll kind of figure out the rest, so you're not just isolated one-on-one all the time. I can see a pathway to where James Bradbury can have a solid year for him in that role. And that would be helpful for the Chiefs. And I think it would bring you a level of consistency and just a veteran player that you were not, that you feel better about. And then he's willing to tackle. He'll have the same play style. So yeah, I do think that a Bradbury, if cut, would make, or, available for trade for something very minimal. I don't know his contract situation, would make a ton of sense. He fits the type of corner they usually like.
That was one when I was just kind of looking through some kind of trying to research from, some cut candidates and all that stuff, and just trying to, identify players. That's one that seems like there's a chance that, that they make a cap casualty or move on from him. I don't know if he's a guy I would trade for and take on the full breadth, the full contract. That's not what I'm necessarily advocating for. Yeah. I don't think that's the move, but if he becomes, available via trade or via cut, I think that's where it really starts to make a little bit more sense. Do you have any, out of curiosity, are there any cut trade candidates that you've looked at, you're particularly, because I have a couple more, one of them. Oh, you got one?
No, I don't. You should shoot me. You should shoot all of them, because I quickly was looking, and there's not a lot of people out there that are ready to predict too many cut candidates yet. So you hit me with what you got.
So, and I think when I want to ask you a philosophical question, okay? If the Chiefs,
I think the Romans would win.
10,000 rats, 12 lions, whatever. No, if you if you're looking to improve the defensive end position, how much of a step up above Truman Jones does it have to be for you to really consider making a big trade right now, or any kind of trade? I guess I'm trying to figure out juice squeeze value, and how much you're willing to give up to make an improvement on Truman Jones and put another player in the Malik Herring, Felix Anudike-Uzomah bucket. Does it have to be a player for you that's better than all three of those, or just simply adding a player I don't know, Eric Watts, the defensive end front that's currently with the New York Jets, that's shown some promise and could make the roster and could not, like an Eric Watts type player?
I think for me, if I'm going to go out and make a trade for a defensive end, it's got to be somebody above the Malik Herring FAU line for it to be worth the squeeze. If I'm adding somebody else to that group, I'm just adding to the uncertainty that I already have. And why am I using a draft pick to add to that? And I get it. Like if it's a future, if the Chiefs trade a 7th round draft pick or a future conditional 7th round draft pick for Eric Watts, am I going to be upset? No, absolutely not. I would like kind of liked him coming out of the draft. I understand how that would fit with the Chiefs. I just mean like, if I'm thinking about trading something semi-substantial from the NFL draft, giving somebody a semi-substantial amount of money, I really think the goal should be finding somebody that is above the Malik Herring, Felix Anudike-Uzomah line right now. And for that reason, I can understand why the Chiefs might try to play that out to the trade deadline, or play it out so you know when Charles Omenihu might come back. Can you survive and not have to spend extra cash, have to spend any extra draft capital to get somebody back, Omenihu, who is going to be better than what that line is? Like, I get the path to why you would be patient and wait, but if they are going to go out and make any move besides just signing somebody that gets cut or is available, it probably should be somebody that's being penciled in for actual reps. And if you get a third guy new to the team that is going to be in that same group as FAU and Malik Herring, where are they playing? Like, they're not going to play, so that doesn't really help you any.
I think defensive end, though, is the position that they should try to make an improvement on now. And knowing that, you need help now more than you need. Like, I'm not saying you don't need help at cornerback, but I think I'd rather have help now at defensive end and depth now at defensive end, knowing that Charles Omenihu is going to come back at some point, and then look at cornerback potentially at the trade deadline if you still need one. Like, because this is going to be uncertain for a little bit here with the cornerback spot, like just roll with the guys you have for a little bit if you have to pick one, and then try to make a trade for a cornerback at the trade deadline, but be more intentional now at defensive end. So I'm going to throw a couple names out at you. You tell me just what you think. And I think I know where I stand, but like I at least, have thought about these guys a little bit. Peyton Turner, defensive end for the Saints. Not been particularly good.
No. What am I trading here?
We could call it a day 3 pick, a 6th round pick.
Yeah, for a 6th round pick, I think so. I think Peyton Turner had enough of a useful profile coming out of college. There's enough uniqueness to his body type and his athleticism that I think a day 3 pick for a player that young still is probably worth it. If the Saints are willing to move on from him, though, like I might play a little bit of hardball and see if I can get away with a future 6th, or just just play a little bit of hardball with him. I'm not giving up something substantial. Oh, he's only 25 years old too.
Yeah, and he hasn't had a lot of success. He's got 3 sacks on the ledger in his time in No,
it hasn't worked. It definitely has not worked with the Saints. Like if you're looking just at his NFL tape and production, like it's definitely not there. But we're also talking about a guy at 6'5", 270 pounds with over 35-inch arms. That's 25 years old. Like Steve Spagnuolo is probably plenty happy to spend a, if he has to say a day 3 pick on that. And then like he was a productive college player too. So yeah, I would be on board with that one. Now, this is a guy that probably slots into the Herring FAU tier. But I think the fact that he still has upside because he is so young, there's still upside. There's a chance for him to get out of there. So yeah, I think I'm okay with that.
There's ceiling to him, and like it's not that there's not ceiling with Felix Anudike-Uzomah now. It's just that like he's kind of showing some things that make you have some concern. The physical profile still there for Peyton Turner too. Like I think they're guys that are in similar spots, just maybe different types of defensive ends. Okay, so interesting. So the Chiefs actually traded their 6th round pick. So it'd have to be a pick swap of their 5th for a 6th or something like that. They'd probably be doing some kind of pick swap or something like that. But that's another day. Let's talk. Okay, Anthony Nelson. I don't know if he's gonna. I think he's probably gonna. No. Okay.
I'm not giving up anything.
Okay. I don't think I would either.
That's it, Malik. You just hit me with a Malik Herring. Like you hit me with a guy that I think can come in there and eat snaps and you need to, but the Chiefs definitely don't need another just snap eater, like lower tier snap eater, a guy to come in just to spell the actual starters, the rotational guys. So yeah, I don't think I'd give up anything for an Anthony Nelson.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of in the same boat. That's just another name I was kind of researching a little bit as well. So I think those are the kinds of players. Like it's either going to be that or it's going to be someone that's slightly better than like a Truman Jones maybe. And like I just don't know like how many true pass rushers. Do you know what you call decent pass rushers? 53-man roster players. That's what you call them. You call them on an active roster, not cut on Tuesday. So yeah. Like, that's just the nature of it. Like, it's hard to find those guys. I think the free agent market's real barren, though. I don't think they're signing Yannick Ngakoue. I don't think I would anyway.
No,
and
I
so,
don't think so. I would be intrigued if who gets cut. I think there's a couple other guys out there, and we're now getting to the point where you're looking at guys that were drafted 3-4 years ago that haven't quite hit, that might come available. And like, if guys get, these aren't trade candidates, but these are guys that if they get cut, they might, like I saw in here, like Boogie Basham hasn't been particularly good for the Bills, right? And like, he's kind of fallen out of the rotation there. He hasn't been good. And I don't know if he's necessarily going to get cut, but if they decide to, like, yeah, that's a guy that I wouldn't mind bringing in, because like, it hasn't panned out for him so far, but maybe he's the Giants, actually, I guess. I thought he was at the Bills for some reason.
He was drafted by the Bills originally.
Yeah. Okay. So they already cut him once or traded him away. And then he goes to the Giants, didn't have, I'm looking through it now, doesn't seem like he really did a whole lot for them either. So like, yeah, it's just like, if he's cut, sure, bring him in, right? But it's not a guy I'm trading for.
Right. So like, yeah, I don't know. There's just not a ton of guys that you feel great about. I definitely think the Chiefs will be trying to find ways to improve those parts of the roster. So I think that's
somebody out there to write some more like surprise cut candidate lists, like some cut candidate lists. Like, there's not any out there. I've been over here Googling while we're doing this, trying to find some people talking about guys that might be cut. There's people aren't releasing them, Kent.
Yeah. Well, maybe there's just not a ton of defensive ends out there. So I don't know. We'll see.
Anybody. Ooh, Michael Clemens. That's a pretty good one. I wouldn't mind a Michael Clemens. I think
if Michael Clemens gets cut, I'm all in. I just don't know if.
Yeah, I think you're still looking at more of like a jumbo or like another Malik Herring, but probably better. But like similar concept though, right?
Better. He's a better one. Yeah,
but he's still more of a snap eater, right? It's still more of a snap eater than anything else. But like, yeah, cool. I'm down with trying it. Like, sure, let's fire it off.
Yeah, let's give it a go. We'll see if the Chiefs do anything between now and Monday, which is the next time that you'll see us on the KC Laboratory. We will be with you on the KCSN post game tomorrow night after the Chiefs play the Bears. That's going to do it for this episode, though. We love you. We appreciate you. We'll catch you later.
Also want to watch Curtis Jacobs.